Hello and welcome to Crosstalk. Crosstalk is the conversations around contemporary issues, but from a kingdom perspective. And with all the things that are unfolding right now, it's absolutely important that we have these conversations before we, in the kingdom of God, believers, get lost in the narrative. So to have this conversation with me tonight is Dr. Oliver Kisaka. Dr. Oliver Kisaka is the Executive Director of CORAT Africa. He'll tell us more about that. But he's also been the Deputy General Secretary of the National Council of Churches of Kenya. So, Dr. please, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charles, and
Yes.
good evening, viewers.
Yes. So let us know a bit about CORAT. What does CORAT do?
Thank you, CORAT Africa. CORAT is an acronym which stands for Christian Organizations Research Advisory Trust of Africa.
Yes.
We were set up to fulfill a very important function within church and church-related organizations.
Yes.
Two ways of helping people appreciate what CORAT does is CORAT is the Kenya School of Government for churches. Okay, so you go to government.
Yes.
From time to time, as you climb the ladder,
Yes.
you are taken for in-service training.
Yes.
In CORAT, church leaders go to theological school for Bible training, preaching, and everything.
Yes.
They come out and immediately they are administrators,
Yes.
even CEOs.
Yes.
They don't know about finance, they don't know about management.
Yes.
So CORAT is the place they come to train for that. There is a category, a section of churches that have not appreciated that it's important, in addition to a serious commitment to the gospel,
Yes.
and you could go further and say a privileged reception of the gifts of the Holy Spirit,
Yes.
you actually need skills
Obviously.
to be able to administrate. Yes,
them.
yes.
Yes, absolutely.
And then demonstrate that all things have been done properly and in order.
Yes.
Otherwise, what you then see is that there is another category of preachers that actually have nothing to do with the gospel. First John would put it this way, they were not among us from the beginning.
From the beginning.
Yes.
Yes.
So they didn't come to preach the gospel.
Yes.
They saw an opportunity to make money, to mislead people.
Yes.
So they came in
Yes.
and they ran various gimmicks
Yes.
to make it sound like they are authentic.
Absolutely.
But their fruits do
Yes,
not show that they are.
And so, and I think why I wanted you to bring that out is for a number of reasons in the current scenario where we are in.
Yeah.
Because the reality is mainstream media, social media, and the rest would like to bundle pastors into one box.
Yes.
And use some of those you've mentioned as the benchmark.
Yes.
As almost like the figurehead that represents the rest.
Yes.
And so in that noise, it's very easy to begin to say, this gospel is not true. This teaching is not true. Church, it's now become this corporate judgment on the structure. And I think it's very crucial that it is known that there is such a scenario. It exists. But whether people choose to take it up or not is the issue. I'd like your take on the significant relationship between what would have been called various seasons of the church and the political establishment, whereby the relational level, at what point was it inaccurate? At what point was it accurate? What should the ideal look like?
First is to say that there is never a generation when a true church does not exist.
Yes.
Even now,
Yes.
there is a true church.
Yes.
The Lord said, I have reserved for myself 7,000 men who have not defiled themselves.
Yes.
So they are there.
Yeah.
The nature of media is drama.
Yes.
So they tend to focus on man bites a dog rather than dog bites the man. Yes. So they will be looking out for somebody who claims, I am pastor. Not authenticated by anybody.
Excellent.
They don't follow up to know which structures they come from.
Yes.
But just because he said, I am pastor, they then...
That part they accept.
Yes.
Only when it goes wrong, they agree. In
Yes.
fact, the headline says, pastor does. They don't query it.
Yes. There has been an uneasy relationship between government and church for a long time.
Yes.
in the early days, the National Council of Churches of Kenya was the umbrella institution that represented all churches. And it even had a section where for any church to be registered, it had to meet certain conditions. To this day, the council just has not more than 60 members. And it's because there are stringent regulations. You need to have a constitution. The constitution must state clearly when you enter leadership and when you leave leadership, accountability structures, all that. Now, anybody who cannot submit to that will then set up something of their own. Will even declare themselves a bishop. And there is no end to the desire for fancy titles. Bishop, professor, doctor, so and so. And you just, it's like there are always people around who are willing to throw these titles at you as you will. So there does seem to be a situation where if you have the title of pastor, you have become ordinary. So it should be bishop. Bishop becomes ordinary, it should be archbishop. Archbishop becomes ordinary, it should be archbishop, doctor, somebody. And then they go ahead to try and demonstrate who they are in that way. But the basics are that they need to be authentically gospel believing, and their fruit needs to demonstrate that they are the servants of Christ.
Now let me ask a question, because I grew up in that window, and there's a lot of argument that can be thrown at that structure, that it also became a cartel. It became a strategy to lock out anything that is threatening, anything that is disrupting the social status quo, and especially in the season of the late President Moi, it is said it was used as a tool, and as a tool to determine who can. They became gatekeepers. And in that space, you also had to pay off certain fathers to be acknowledged and allowed to register.
On the contrary, the united action of the churches was a fairly strong deterrent to autocracy. How would you circumvent that? You raised an alternative, or rather alternative umbrella organizations.
Also, those are new power centers.
So that now those who play along with you could belong. Now, I would not wish to mention names because even within that structure, there are still genuine groups, and we appreciate what they are doing. It's just that at the time at which it was set up, it was over and against the NCCK, because it was too powerful.
So can we say? And what I'm trying to do, viewers, is to give you history. So that we have clarity before we accuse the church and accuse pastors. Let's have a sense of history. Where did we come from? And I think what we're trying to alienate here is let us remove the wheat from the chaff. So that we have clarity on what was going on where. So could it be that it is that particular group that went into bed with politics?
To a great extent. Because you see, and I think the other thing that would surprise you is the need for money. It is sickening. Because many people think that to start a church and run a church is an easy thing. And so you start a church, you have 100 members, you can't meet the needs. I mean, you can't meet the costs,
the overheads
of running this institution. So a politician becomes very attractive to you. Because then they can always come in and bail you out. So at the root of this thing is actually money. Now, there are some of them who, through their excesses, have managed to hoodwink very many people and convince them that they are specially chosen, special powers, and therefore they harvest a lot of money from unsuspecting Kenyans. Those ones don't even belong to any umbrella organization. They are what would usually be called loose cannons. They are accountable to nobody at all. And so our desire was to say that we need to get to the point where churches appreciate the need to preach and pray, but also institutionalize. Because institution is the way in which you are accountable both to man and to God.
Yes.
And I can tell you, in this country, you could say up to 60% of the church in this country has structures of accountability.
Yes.
Yeah. The ones who don't have are in the minority. It's just that they are magnified.
Yes.
Yes.
So here is, I want to take you back to the Genesis, because I'm trying to clearly define the difference between the church that is in partnership
with the state,
the government and the state, versus the church that is the conscience of the state. Is it possible that the political class began to prefer the loose cannons?
Exactly.
Because of the euphoria, and yet it endorsed whatever they were doing.
Exactly. Both in campaigns and also to shut these ones down. They upheld the alternatives.
Yes.
And whenever they called their meetings, they would be surrounded by very many people in purple shirts, but you can't tell who was the author of this purple shirt. Nobody can tell where it came from.
Yes.
And even if they were anointed by somebody, the one who anointed them was themselves never quite anointed by anybody. There's a sense in which structures have a way of testing and developing somebody. So government, the politicians, unless they are personally, internally committed to Christ, are extremely sly. Yes, they are very sly. They know which songs to play in which context.
Yes.
They know which books to carry in which context. So if you want to get the sympathy of the Christians, then you go to them. And how do you go to them? They are so impoverished that even if you just give them 100,000 shillings, they sing your song all the way. Meanwhile, you shut them up. But when you have structures like now the established churches of this country, these bishops are not looking for any handouts. They are able to come together, and that is what made NCCK strong. The second dimension that we need to know is that in the period of autocracy, you know, you couldn't speak and get away with it. So people were silenced. The only institution that had the muscles from grassroots to actually speak was the church. And so they became the only source of news. So in the evenings on Sundays, key figure X would be going to church somewhere, and it would always be the first item on news. And if another church leader then spoke something, they would then send the cameras there. And even they were airing that piece of information at great risk to the media house, because those days it was dark.
It was total clampdown.
So in a sense, when people say today that the church does not speak, it is out of context, because they do not realize that we are in an era of freedom, and so many voices, interesting voices, are also speaking. The media houses are at a loss which one they will go for. So it may not be necessarily the case that the church has been compromised. Now, clearly, when the new presidents came into power, gathered a number of church leaders around them, and actually presented it as if it was the church candidate. But the church, for the church, every candidate who wins is a church candidate. Because the Bible says that they are chosen of God. It doesn't matter their character. It's wrong, because we are the ones with the responsibility to discriminate character and to choose the right person. But once they have been chosen, they have become your leader. So you can't quite go to a candidate and say this one is ours and the other one was not.
So and so.
Because the other one is actually a leader in waiting.
Let's take a break there and let's come back. So we're taking a break. Please don't go away and continue this conversation with us, because we want to get clarity. What is the wheat? What is the chaff? Where is the church? Which church? Who have you been listening to? What's your opinion of who's speaking where? Let's continue after the break. Welcome back. We're still talking state of the nation, and by proxy, state of the church. Because they are totally related. They interface with each other. In fact, if you studied scripture, you'll discover something interesting, that when nations raided Israel, Israel wasn't taken until the temple was taken. At the point at which the temple was taken, then the nation crumbled. So we had to have a conversation around what happened to us. Is there still a standing reality of priesthood in the nation? And we've discovered there is. Is it perfect? Nobody's perfect.
No, nobody.
Let us agree that there are places where we dropped the ball.
Yeah.
There are places where things would have been done better, but it doesn't mean there was a vacuum and things were out of order.
Right.
I'm continuing to talk with my guest here, and one of the conversations we want to get into now is the issue of our current scenario within government.
Right.
The GenZ phenomenon,
right.
where it has brought us to.
Yeah.
The president backpedaling a lot and making adjustment as he goes.
Yeah.
What's the way forward?
First, I want to say that Kenyans must be eternally grateful to the living God that we have young people in this country called Gen Z, and that they have taken up their citizenship responsibility in a peaceful and organized manner. They realized that they are also stakeholders. They can't just watch everybody else making decisions about their country, decisions that affect them, without making their voices heard.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the political culture of this country is a culture of autocracy. The new constitution has never sunk. I think this is the first time
yes.
people realized that the new constitution actually gives citizens
Yes.
the power. The power is not with the political class.
Yes.
And statements which we normally say that we are invited to servant leadership is cosmetic,
Yes.
word of mouth.
Yes.
People have never appreciated the import
Yes.
of that statement.
Yes.
As staff worker at NCCK as Deputy General Secretary, I remember releasing very many statements where I specifically said that MPs cannot increase their own salaries. Yeah? And it is not their work to give handouts to Kenyans.
Yes.
It is their work to make good laws that facilitate Kenyans to live effectively
Yes.
and not need handouts. Yes? And that when you increase your own salary in your position, it's a misappropriation of power.
Yes.
It's actually corruption. And with that kind of corruption in the august house of a country like ours, you cannot stop a headmaster from using his power as a headmaster to access the same.
Absolutely.
You cannot stop a policeman. Every Kenyan then begins to ask, if the MP is using his house to
Yes.
get money,
Yes.
what do I have? So the policeman says, I have a gun. And that's why you go to the road to get money.
Yes.
The headmaster says, I have an office.
Yes.
Whoever. So you corrupt the entire country. So we would argue and say, please, let SRC do the work of determining
Yes.
who earns what when.
Now,
Yeah.
on the whole issue about Gen Z,
Yes.
we've watched them morph in a very short window.
The Gen Z should not get into unnecessary battles. They should not assume that the Gen X,
Yes.
the millennials,
Yes.
that they failed.
Exactly.
The Gen X and the millennials brought the new constitution.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which they are riding
Which
on
they are riding on.
to be able to move.
Yes.
For those who are making decisions now,
Yeah.
what should the path look like?
What the two character qualities are required in this scenario. Great honesty and great humility, both of which the political class does not have. That, you know, you came out against the young people and told them off.
Yes.
You know, you have arrived with mobile phones and
Yes.
bad language, bad language. You needed to come down and to say we are your servants. You are the ones who actually put us where we are.
Yes.
We regret that we have not served you. Because, let's face it, in Kenya, the culture is use any means possible to
Yes.
acquire the seat.
Yes.
Because when you acquire the seat, you become arrogant,
Yes.
you become unassailable,
Yes.
you cannot be advised by anybody.
Exactly.
You are no longer a servant. Yeah.
And you know, it's funny
Yes.
that if we walk back a bit, the red flags were there. It was obvious that we had institutionalized corruption.
Yes. From a Christian perspective, I think God is answering our prayers. And I again ask the political class to be honest and to be humble. Be humble to the ground.
Yes.
Because you are a servant.
Yes.
you are put where you are by Kenyans.
Yes.
You know, Charles, we are seated here with you.
True.
In the Kenyan political culture, if tomorrow you become an MP, you don't even pick my phone.
Yes, why would I?
Yes, because there is just a type of deception that enters.
Because in my mind,
yes.
I have accessed something and you want a piece of it. And I paid the price.
Yes.
Nobody elected me, I made
and
it.
And I have the right to kick you around, to get you off the road. When I want to pass, you must stand aside. You know, it's
I'm the one who's
very
late.
Arrogant. Yes, you are late deliberately.
Yes.
You have no respect for
Exactly.
Kenyans. So we want to just, two things, be honest, be extremely humble.
Yes.
What Kenyans are saying and what the Gen Zs have managed to say is that we can hold you to account. You know, previously, there has been no handle for accountability.
Yes.
Yes?
It was a theory.
It was a theory. Those are some of the things that caused the government to realize power has changed.
Yes.
Citizens have taken their country back.
Yes.
Please, political class, the political class must appreciate 5 years is a very short time.
Yes.
Even 10 years is a very short time. If all you want to do is to excel in corruption and opulence and disadvantage your own country, you're actually hurting yourself. Unfortunately, sadly, you don't understand that.
That's true.
And you are denying these young people an opportunity to actually grow up in a country where their skills can flower and mature. These are the people who would be generating the next rocket, you know.
There you go.
If they are given good environment with these capacities that they have, they can actually take us to the next level.
Imagine the energy they have put into now productive use. And we cannot finish this show without discussing the elephant in the room, or rather the elephant in the State House. The fact that we have a cabinet that has been dissolved.
Right.
And the weight behind this, the president is sitting at a place now where, number one, is he even guaranteed that people will take up the jobs if he offers them? Is anybody really ready to face that structure? What does this look like? It is obvious by now that there must have been an attempt at a coalition strategy that has been scuttled before it started. Even the great Raila Odinga has acknowledged that he has met his match.
Yes.
And we're in a whole new environment. So today, if the president was listening to you, he's sitting there, he's had to fire his entire cabinet. And the question is, with all his game plans, which were 5-10-year plans that have suddenly become rubble, what is the next step here?
Honesty, humility. Two things. Please come, be on the ground. Tell Kenyans, I'm your servant. I will respond to your wishes.
Yes.
But I will interpret what you are saying and come back to you to say, this is how we are proposing to do it. If you say that's not what we meant, we will think again. Because until now, there was no listening.
Yes.
People have cried a lot. People have cried a lot. Please, listen. Listen to the people. There's a limit to what you can do to the people that can hurt them beyond repair. And they will not wait to get to the point of no repair.
Yes.
I want to commend the fact that at some point they realized and they stepped down. That's important. I also want to commend the police and the army that they realized and stopped killing the young people of Kenya. Please, please, don't kill the young people. These young people, they are our children and they mean well. They just are looking for honesty and integrity and humility. If an atmosphere can be created that can allow them to thrive, these people will be of so much benefit to this country. Now, in the choice of the next cabinet, can we shift to meritocracy? Can we shift to strategies that actually help the country restore structures which have long been broken? I mean, a country where government officers take it their responsibility to block interested parties from achieving their aspirations. I mean, let me use a simple example like passports.
Yes.
Why should it be a problem for anybody to get a passport in Kenya? Or talk about a title deed.
Yes.
Why should it be a problem for somebody to get a title deed in Kenya? It's because the officers who are seated there and demanding to be facilitated have rubbished the salaries they are being paid out of Kenyan taxes and introducing corruption in such a way that what you would have used to get a bank loan last year is still in their possession because you could not give a bribe.
Wow.
So this is not servanthood. This is arrogance and pride of a high order. Calm down. We are all Kenyans. Let's just facilitate each other and begin to generate a country of humility. This is why people in other countries, in some jurisdictions, when it is mentioned about him that he talked to somebody about the employment of his child, he resigns. He does not resign because he's not competent. He resigns because he took an action that was questionable and compromised his role as a servant. The day we discover that people have given you an opportunity to serve. In fact, if you go in as a servant, you can always come back as a servant and enjoy life. If you go in arrogantly as a boss, what happens when you fail?
Well, some people are experiencing that right now as we speak, and they're beginning to see. So, as we close this, thoughts. You've repeated this over and over on this show. So much so that nobody could have missed it. Humility? Please say them again.
Honesty or integrity and humility.
This current conversation and these unfolding realities are still in motion. So let's keep talking. Let's keep having these conversations. Let's remove the wheat from the chaff. Let's have clarity and let us all walk into the next space. So if you're praying today, pray that God's purposes come to pass in this nation. God bless you and see you on the next show.